everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Cue the Chat with Fionn Lynch. Now, my laptop has decided to turn on its fan very loud as I've started, so I hope that isn't too distracting if you can hear it. But we've had plenty going on since the last main podcast, including the International Championship. Now, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be having a look at the final. If you want to hear about how Ding Junhui and Chris Wakelin made it there, you can listen to the previous podcast where I previewed the final. We're going to talk about a couple of incidents, including John Higgins using what, if a politician used, would be called unparliamentary language towards the end of one of his sessions. We have another incident which I didn't even notice from the very first match, I want to say, maybe first or second match from the International Championship with Ronnie O'Sullivan, which was sent in to us by email from none other than Lars Johansson. We also have some other interactions with the podcast, and we're going to be going through some of the... Not going to be going through some of them, we're going to be going through all of the groups from the International Championship. I'm going to be predicting all of the groups. Now, the first one has started, but I promise I did my predictions. I wrote them out before we started. It's the final of Group 1 is currently 3-2 to Jack Jones as I record this. So without further ado, welcome on in to episode number 5. Cue the show. So we're going to be starting off with the final of the International Championship. Now, my prediction was almost right in terms of the score, but the way that it went, I was actually completely wrong, because what I thought was that Ding Junhui was going to get off to an absolutely brilliant start against Chris Wakelin, and that was going to be the... Stop making noises, laptop. And I thought that was going to be why Chris Wakelin didn't win the title. I thought that Chris Wakelin was going to get off to a poor start, that the occasion was going to get to him, but it didn't. I mean, he took the opening frame and then Ding took one back, but then he made it to 4-1. But from 4-1, really, he kind of fell off, because Ding Junhui from 4-1 down made it all the way to 7-4 before Chris Wakelin even replied. So really, it was kind of the opposite of what I thought was going to happen. I thought that Chris Wakelin, as I say, was going to have a poor start and kick on towards the end. But he kicked on at the very start, and Ding Junhui managed to claw his way back. Now, as I said in the preview podcast, I wasn't getting up to watch the first session, and I forgot that I was going to be working for most of the second session. I managed to get it on in the bar that I work in for a little while, but it was very much towards the end, so I really didn't watch much of it. But from what I saw, Ding Junhui seemed to be playing very well. Like, he might not have been playing very well in the opening session, but from what I saw, he was playing very, very well indeed. Now, I went through the rest of the results in the preview podcast, so we're going to leave that to rest. But well done to Ding Junhui, who has beaten Chris Wakelin in the International Championship final to win on home soil by 10 frames to 7. Now we're going to move on to a few incidents from the championship, because there were quite a few incidents in the International Championship. So we're just going to go through a couple of them. The first one was John Higgins telling the tournament director to fuck off at the end of the first session of his match between himself and Chris Wakelin. Now, it was only meant to be a one-session match, but the match had gone on and on and on, and was it 32 or 34 minutes before the end, John Higgins and Chris Wakelin were pulled off and told they would have to play their final frame later in the day. Now, this was the second time that this has happened to John Higgins during the week, and he was not best pleased, to say the least. Now, I'm just going to bring up Neil Robertson's tweet here, because he had some interesting things to say. Neil said, "Being pulled off in a best of 11 with 32 minutes to go is a strange call in my opinion. 2:30 start means there's every chance it can be tight. It can be a tight change around, harsh on both players, especially in a quarter final. And Dave Hendon replied, "Tomorrow they're only playing 8 frames and they're starting half an hour earlier." Now, in my opinion, they did the right thing because as was the first day of the tournament, the match that it was the very first session that overran, and the second session was pushed back by 15 minutes so they could get everyone in, but it ended up being pushed back by nearly an hour. Now, I understand that Ronnie O'Sullivan was playing in the next session, and there was a lot of interest in China for Ronnie O'Sullivan because he's a big name, he's a big player. But yeah, I feel like in a normal tournament, maybe it would be a little bit harsh, but like considering what had happened during the week, I feel like it was definitely precautionary. Definitely, it certainly was. I suppose if it happened 2 times in the 1 week, people would be saying, "Oh, they are not pulling the matches off," and then the people who are meant to be on next would be saying, "Oh, why didn't they pull them off?" And do you know, I just feel like they made the right call considering what had happened earlier on in the week. Now, I thought this was actually going to be a very long podcast, but we are absolutely blasting through my notes. Now, the next incident was pointed out to me by none other than snooker fandom royalty, Lars Johansson, because he has emailed into the podcast. Now, I'm going to read out his email right now, and we're going to address what he said. He said, "Hey, Fionn, I heard when Dave Hendon referenced you, so I went straight to Spotify and found you there. Always good to see another podcast in the feed. Looking forward to hearing lots from you going forward. The more snooker, the better, if you ask me. Anyways, just wanted to say welcome and best of luck going forward with your podcast." Thank you very much, Lars. I really appreciate it. Some lovely words. You go on to say, "And now, so that you have some materials to discuss in your podcast." Thank you very much. "What did you think of the Rocket shaking Mink's hand after the game? Curious why she gets the handshake, but nobody else does. One would have thought that maybe the fist bump was his way after COVID and all that. Would have made sense to some degree, but all of a sudden the handshake is back, but likely not for the next male opponent. Why? I'm baffled. I'm making a hen out of... I can't speak. Sorry, Lars. I'm making a hen out of a feather, maybe, but it bugs me. Thoughts?" Right. So, when I received this email, I was thinking, what? Surely not. So I went back on Discovery Plus and I had a look at the match. And you are very right. He does go and shake her hand. And for years and years and years, even before COVID, Ronnie O'Sullivan has refused to shake people's hands. You saw, just going back years and years, not years and years, like 2018, 2019, Mark Selby was offered a fist bump and he pretended to play rock, paper, scissors with him one time. I don't know, was it a separate occasion that he just cabbaged him? He just got his hand and put it over his fist. He was having none of it. But I feel like this might have been because it is a very momentous occasion. One of the female pros, and to be honest, one of the best female pros the game has ever seen, playing on TV in China, in Asia where she's from. She's playing a big profile match, and she has absolutely represented women's snooker so well throughout that match. And at the end of it, Ronnie O'Sullivan goes up and shakes her hand because it is a momentous occasion. Like, it's not like one of the guys who's on TV all the time, who he's given the handshake to. Like, this is monumental because how often do we see not only women make it to the TV stages of a tournament. I understand that it was a held over match. It was technically a qualifier, but still, playing on table one at a big profile event, £175,000 to the winner. This is not a small event. And she held herself very well, I must say. And I feel like it was just a mark of how momentous the occasion was. I feel like, yes, probably he will go back to the fist bump the next time. And I don't think you're making a hen out of a feather, because I understand where you're coming from. Why doesn't everybody else get this kind of respect? But at the same time, he is an ambassador for Chinese snooker, which may have played a part in it. And as I'm going to keep saying the word momentous until I find a new word in my head. This is a pretty big moment for snooker, having a woman playing on TV in China. So I feel like he just, I don't know, he just realized that. And look, a handshake isn't a huge thing anymore. I mean, there's handshakes here, there, and everywhere in sport, and I feel like she deserved that little mark of respect. But thank you very much, Lars, for sending in the email. I really appreciate it. If you have anything else to say, you can email in again, and anybody else can interact with us. You can DM us on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter at QTheChatPod. You can also email us qthechat@gmail.com. That's qthechat@gmail.com. Or, as some people have been doing throughout the week, you can comment on Spotify. And I've had some lovely words from Brian McGovern. He, first of all, commented on one of the Instagram posts earlier on in the week. And then he started going through the podcast. You could see him as he was going through it on Sunday, just going through, and every podcast he listened to, he left a comment. And Brian, I really appreciate it, because you said some very lovely things in the comments. But I just thought it was really funny that, every hour or 45 minutes, I just get a new notification, Brian McGovern saying something lovely about the podcast. So I really appreciate it, man. I was at work, and my phone was hopping because of all the notifications you were sending me. And we've also had a comment from Kelly Barker, absolute snooker fandom royalty. I mean, like, there's not many people now who are really, I suppose, the people who are big on the correspondents who are big on Dave Hendon's podcast. Who are we waiting for? We are waiting for Mark Williams, but not that one, and Alpha Bonzi. I'm probably leaving out a couple of people, but yeah, we're really the podcast is starting to make its mark in snookerland, which I'm absolutely delighted about. I've been following snooker since I was 8 or 9 years old. I mean, I'm not that old. I am still technically a minor, guys. Hold my hands up. I am only 17, but like, I've been following it for nearly the majority of my life, more than the majority of my life, and it's just great that I get to put out my thoughts and my feelings, and people are listening to it, and big people are listening to it, and it does just mean a lot. I mean, I'm in talks with getting onto another snooker podcast. I'm not going to reveal the name because, as I say, I am only 17, and that's does seem to be scuppering the plans a little bit. But yeah, I should be on it in the next year anyway, considering that's how ages work, and I'm gonna be an adult soon. But yeah, it does mean a lot. Like, I've been getting a good few emails. I must say, most of the inbox is from different things that I've signed up to: TikTok, X, or Twitter, or whatever we call it these days. On my Apple, Spotify, the people who cut up my clips, that kind of crack. But there are still a good few emails coming in from you guys, And feel free to send them in, because I will read out absolutely anything. Absolutely anything. You could slander absolutely anybody. I'm not going to censor it. I might disagree with it, but I'm not going to censor it. I'll read out absolutely goddamn anything. So, as I say, email cuethechat@gmail.com, and all the socials are cuethechatpod. Now we're going to move on to the Champion of Champions. Now, as I said at the start, I made all my predictions before I knew anything. Before the last match had finished. It was a little bit into the first match, but I had the first man, Mark Allen, in my head to win. But Igor Figueiredo did play very well. This is Group 1 that I'm talking about here. Mark Allen, I have him tipped to win the group. Igor Figueiredo, he did play very well. He played surprisingly well. I thought the match was going to be over relatively quickly with Igor Figueiredo. You know, he doesn't play professional snooker. He plays a bit of senior snooker, but not a bit of senior snooker. He's the world seniors champion. But, you know, I didn't think that he was going to make it. He was going to make it such a challenge. But he really did put up a fight. And Senna Snooker is was really impressive. But Mark Allen did come through, and I have him tipped to win the group. And I had him tipped to be playing against Gary Wilson, who did lose against Jack Jones. I didn't see a whole pile of that match, but Jack Jones seems to be playing really well, because I've been watching a bit of the final as well. I watched kind of the middle of the Gary Wilson Jack Jones match, and I watched the start of the final there, the quarterfinal, but the final of the group, and he seems to be playing really well. He seems to be playing a lot better than I've seen him play at all this year. He's had an absolutely torrid season. I might actually have a quick look at his Q tracker there, because he has not been playing well at all. So his name is Jack Jones, but he doesn't appear to have a Q tracker. What? How doesn't Jack Jones have a Q tracker? That's mental. I'm after searching up Jack. Oh, he doesn't spell it with a C, does he? Whoopsie daisy. Yep, I spelled his name wrong. Never mind. So yeah, he beat Gary Wilson today, as I said. He didn't qualify for the International Championship. He lost 4-0 in the last 32 of the Northern Ireland Open. He made it to the last 32 of the Wuhan Open, losing to Jack Lazowski 5-1. He made it to the quarterfinals of the British Open, where he lost 5-4 to Ollie Lyons, who was on absolutely brilliant form in that tournament. I watched a lot of the British Open, and Oliver Lyons was playing super, super well. The English Open, he made it to the second round, where he lost to Ishpreet Singh Chadha. And then Saudi Arabia, he lost his opening game. His opening game was the last 32, because he was top 16 at that point. They got seeded through to the last 32, and he lost 5-3. He lost the Xi'an Grand Prix last 16, 5-1. Shanghai Masters, he lost first round. And Championship League, I don't count any of that in my when I'm looking at different results and things, because I feel like you can have a couple of flukes in that one. But yeah, as I'm recording this now, group semi-final. Here we go, group final. Mark Allen is 4-3 up on Jack Jones, but Jack Jones was he 3-0 or 3-1 up at some point? So Mark Allen's coming back in that one. Mark Allen, I really enjoy watching, and I had him anyway, tipped to win the group. But Jack Jones has been putting up a fight. He was leading, but now he is trailing, and that match continues. You'll know the outcome before this podcast comes out. Now, moving on to Group 3, which is for some reason being played before Group 2, and I've just realised it's because Ding Junhui is in Group number 2, so they've probably switched the two of them to give Ding Junhui a chance to come back from China. Group 3 is being played tomorrow, Tuesday, which is probably the day you're going to be listening to this, considering I am recording this at 10 o'clock. Mark Williams is playing against Bayu Lu, and Karen Wilson is playing against Luca Bressel. Now, Mark Williams, heavy favourite to beat Bayu Lu. I think that one could be 4-0, I'm going to be honest. Even though Bayu Lu is the women's world champion, I think Mark Williams will come through that 4-0. And I have him tipped to win the group. But I have Karen Wilson tipped to beat Luca Bressel, so I think Luca Bressel isn't in great form. So if Luca Bressel wins, I will be uber surprised. So I think that it is fairly clear cut, that final. But I have tipped Mark Williams to win. Because Mark Williams, lest we forget, made it through to the he made it through to the Saudi Arabia snooker de-duper champion worldy ball. I don't know what it was called. It had some stupid name. He made it through to the final of that, and he really should have won that. And Karen Wilson is playing very, very, very well. But I think, I don't know why. I wrote this on the bus. At about, 4 o'clock. I don't know why I tipped Mark Williams, but I did. But I mean, it stands to reason that Mark Williams, 3 times the champion of the world, could beat Karen Wilson, even though Karen Wilson is the defending champion. Look, it's going to be very close. No matter what happens, that match, I think, could go all the way. But I've tipped Mark Williams to win that one. Now, Judd Trump, Ding Junhui, Ali Carter, and Neil Robertson are in group number 2. Group 3 and Group 2 are going to be playing off against each other in Group 1 and Group 4. So, I've tipped Judd Trump to beat Ding Junhui and Ali Carter to beat Neil Robertson. So, the way that I've tipped it, it's going to be Mark Williams versus Judd Trump in the semi-final of the Champions, which, that does sound like a pretty good match. Judd Trump, I think, player of the season, probably could go most of the way, if not all the way. He is playing against the man who's won the most recent tournament, the International Championship, but Ding Junhui is going to be tired, man. They have been long old days over in China. Best of 17 semi-final, best of 19 final. He was playing his semi-final and final back-to-back. Flying is tiring anyway. I don't know what it is about it, but it is tiring. I don't think that Ding Junhui will do it. I think it'll be tight, but I think Judd Trump is going to win there. And I have Ali Carter tipped to beat Neil Robertson. Now that could be controversial, because although Ali Carter did win the Championship League, which, I mean, whatever you say about how it's a bit of a fluke, it is to get through the group stages, but to get through the final, it is one of the more regular format matches that you'd be playing. So it's not like he isn't winning matches. He is winning matches. Or he was in the Championship League. He hasn't been doing it much as of late. I'm going to pull up his Q tracker now. I should just have everyone's Q tracker just ready to rock when we start. But that's loading there now. He made it to the last 32 of the International Championship. He went out first round in Northern Ireland, last 16 in Wuhan, first round in the British Open against Boshko-Reves, who, as I say, I'm a big fan of Boshko-Reves. Last 32 of the English, first round of Saudi, first round of Xi'an, second round in the Shanghai Masters. So he hasn't been winning too many matches this season. And he is playing, but he is playing against the English Open champion. But this man, the English Open champion, Neil Robertson, well, I'm going to bring up his Q tracker. Boys, I should have really had all these fellas ready. He went out third round of the International Open. He made it to the quarterfinal of the Northern Ireland. So, he went out second round in Wuhan, Third round in the British. He won the English Open. He went out. Um, he won. What was it? Looks like 5 matches. He made it to the last 32 of the Saudi Arabia. Second round of Xi'an. And he didn't play in. Did he not play in? Oh, he wasn't part of the Shanghai Masters. So, I mean, neither player is on hugely amazing form, but I think that really Ali Carter, I think he'll win it, and I think Judd Trump will win the group. As I said, I think Ali Carter won't have it. I think, as I said, Judd Trump will go most of the way to this week. And we're going to move on to group number 4. That's Ronnie O'Sullivan, who's playing Zhao Guodong. I've just dropped my phone. Whoops. Ronnie O'Sullivan is playing Zhao Guodong, and Sean Murphy is playing against Mark Selby. Now, this first one, a little bit controversial. I think that Zhao Guodong is going to beat Ronnie O'Sullivan. That is, if Ronnie O'Sullivan plays. If I check the world rankings, because let's be real, on Wednesday, it's very possible that Ronnie might pull out. Next person in would be Zhang Anda? Yeah. Next person in would be Zhang Anda on the world rankings. So, realistically, I think Zhao Guodong is beating both of them. Ronnie isn't having much match practice because he isn't really playing. He's barely played at all this season. He's been picking and choosing where and when he wants to play. He's played International Championship, he played in. Northern Ireland, he didn't play in. English Open, he lost first round. Saudi Arabia, he lost. He won 3 matches in Saudi Arabia. He went to the semi-final of the Xi'an Grand Prix and semi-final of the Shanghai. And that's all he's played in. That's 3-4 tournaments that he's played in, and he's just not been playing. Like the most recent tournament, he didn't play very well in. And, I just think that he's gone off the boil a bit. He's semi-retired, I'd say, because he's just not playing in everything anymore. So I feel like, I loathe to say it, but it might be the end of the road for the man, the myth, the legend, the rocket, Ronnie O'Sullivan. I'd love to be an MC, man. Sorry, this is so off topic, but I'd love to be an MC. Can you imagine you're just standing in there, in the mosh pit, hyping up not in the mosh pit, but in the center arena, hyping up the crowd, and it's next to the greatest player who has ever lived, winner of 8 UK championships, 8 Masters titles, and the 8 times champion of the world, the Rocket, Ronnie O'Sullivan. And then the crowd goes wild, and everyone's yeah! And you have absolutely no sporting ability, but you're just standing in there, and you're just hearing the cheers, and you've got chills, and you're, man. I would absolutely love to be an MC. Anyway, that is incredibly off topic, especially because I've just pretended to introduce the man who I think is going to go home, who's going to be in the car by 3 o'clock on Thursday. But yeah, Zhao Guodong I think is going to win that match, and then we've got Mark Selby versus Sean Murphy. I've Sean Murphy tipped to win the group. Mark Selby, I don't know what I want to say about Mark Selby. I haven't thought up anything because I was going to talk about Ding Junhui. I wasn't going to talk about Ding Junhui. My head is fried. I was going to talk about Sean Murphy because Sean Murphy hasn't been in amazing form. He made it to the last 32 of the International Championship, but that did include a walkover. Quarter-final of Northern Ireland, quarter-final of Wuhan, last second round of the British Open, last 32 of the English Open, semi-final in Saudi, last 32 of Xi'an, Shanghai Masters final. But like, he was playing well at the start, but he's kind of gone off the boil a small bit this season. But I feel, throughout the season, but I feel like he might win this group here now today, not today, on Thursday, and then Group 4, who I think is going to be Sean Murphy, is going to be playing against the Group 1 winner, who I think is going to be Mark Allen. And I think that we're probably going to have the same final as we did last year. So we're going to have Mark Allen against Judd Trump. And I can't see Trump losing. Like, looking at all of these names, we've got some great names in here, but I can't see Judd Trump not winning the Champion of Champions. Now, I'm probably going to be coming here on Saturday night with my tail between my legs as Jack Jones is playing against Bayu Lu in the final, but I just don't see it coming. I don't know, will I do a podcast this Saturday, because I've sat down here and I know that I've rambled on for, nearly 40 minutes now, but it'll be more like 30 when I cut it down. But I've kind of lost all my content because I did 12 minutes on Saturday, which went out Sunday morning. So I've kind of lost a bit of my content. But we did have a fair bit packed into today's show. Now, last Friday, there was a darts tournament. Now, this has absolutely nothing to do with snooker. There was a darts tournament in the town where I live, in Killarney. The Irish Open was on, the WDF Irish Open. And me and my friend went down to have a look. We were there from 6:30, play started at 7, and we were there till 9:30. So we did get to see a good bit of it. I mean, there were some really big players down there. I mean, Scott Williams was down there. He's top 32 PDC darts player, quarter-finalist in the World Championship last year. So I got a picture with him. I had a chat with him. It was kind of the most awkward chat I've ever had, because I was with my friend, and he just came up, and I said, "Hey, hi Scott, I'm a big fan. Can I get a photo?" And he went, "Are you British, mate?" I said, no, he didn't say it like that at all, but I can't do a British accent. He went, "Are you British?" And I said, "No, I'm not." And he said, "Oh, right." And he was like, "Come on in." And I don't know, did he want me to be British for the photo? But anyway, we got in. I was just taking the photo. My friend was standing beside, or off to the left a bit, and he just went, "I like your friends there." And I was like, "Thanks." It was just so awkward. And that man is actually, he's as mental as he is on TV when he's practicing. Like, he was over at one of the practice boards before the event started, and he was pretending to do karate with a table. He was, he had a 180 in practice, and he went mental. Like, his facial expressions aren't just for the TV. He is absolutely bloody mental. I also met Ashley Coleman. If you watch darts YouTube, you'll know Ashley Coleman from the Darts Referees YouTube channel. I met Ashley Coleman as well. He was a great guy. I wasn't talking to him for too long because it was in between matches, and the schedule was pretty tight because they had doubles, women's doubles, men's doubles. They had a men's competition, they had a boys' competition, they had a women's competition, they had a girls' competition. So they had a lot to get through in 3.5, 4 days. So they were playing the matches one after the other, like there was no real break. So what was I saying? So yeah, I didn't get talking to Ashley Coleman for too long, but he was really nice as well. So yeah, I just thought I'd tell you a bit about that. So yeah, about the end of the podcast. If you liked it, subscribe, comment, like, what else is there? There's rate, review. Oh God, look at me, #1 podcaster. Yeah, you can do all that crack anyway. You can follow us on social media, Cue the Chat Pod. You can email cuethechat@gmail.com, cuethechat@gmail.com, and we will see you I suppose Saturday. Yeah, sure. I'll put out the Saturday podcast anyway. Sure. Then we can do our reactions and we can have a look at the UK Championship qualifiers then on Monday. So, yeah. Until then, we'll see you later. Adios.